was fire. And so what we decided to do was to listen to her message. But we're going to do a little differently because we wanted to be able to connect with one another. One of the focus points of today is connection. Because while we've been talking about family matters, what we think is important is you have a family here at church. We're the family of God. And so even if your family's sometimes dysfunctional, you can come here and have a dysfunctional church family, and we can enjoy life together. So we want to help you connect. So if you connect with your leader, I encourage you, talk with the leader at your group, get their cell phone number, get their email. Leaders, get your students' emails, and also talk to them, because each leader here leads some type of a small group. Junior high, we're here on Wednesday nights. High schoolers, you can talk to your leaders because they lead a Wednesday night group in their home somewhere or here on campus. So just if you like the vibe of connecting, I encourage you to connect further. What we're going to do is we're going to jump into the message at a point. So I'm going to kind of catch you up to what's happening. What she's going to be talking about is there's a verse in Ezekiel 47 where Ezekiel, he was a prophet of God. God gave him a vision. And in this vision, there's the temple of God. And out of the temple of God comes streams of water. And these streams of water represents the Holy Spirit. And as Ezekiel's going, there's an angel that's kind of guiding him along. And Ezekiel finds himself walking into this river. And the farther he goes, the scarier it is. It's kind of like faith. The farther we have to step out in faith, the scarier it is, because who knows what's going to happen. You know, when you're first kind of testing out faith, like, maybe it's okay. But as we get further into faith and God asks us to do crazier things and we have to step out in faith further, it can get a little more difficult. But God is always with us. And so that's what she's going to talk about. So what's going to happen is we're going to play part of the video, and we're going to talk in some groups. So we're going to do that a couple times and end with some worship. Does that sound okay with you guys? Okay, all right. So go take a look at the screens as we go through part one of our time today.
All right, so then this is the third verse. And as the angel man went eastward with a measuring line in his hand, he measured off 1,500 feet, and then he led me through water that was ankle deep. Ankle deep. Think about ankle deep. I got this one. I'm not a great swimmer, but I got ankle deep. I'm good with ankle deep. I could kind of live in ankle deep. I'm all right. Because I know that if this vision stayed at ankle deep, I'm good. You know that ankle deep place in your life where it just seems everything is like in a very shallow place, and you want to get married, and you want to find that guy, and you want that guy to be really grounded and powerful, love Jesus, and have all that, all that going for him, and then you are shallow. What? You can't be shallow, but sometimes we stay in such a shallow place, right? We stay in such a shallow place. It's just like that ankle-deep water that Ezekiel was in. And yes, he was being led by God, but God wanted to show him something really powerful. And that ankle, look, you ever had those ankle deep thoughts? Those recurring thoughts like, I can't get out of here. It's just me. I can't do this. I'm too old. And then they become automatic. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do that. I can't go up on that stage. What am I? Who am I? I can't. And then they just become automatic. I don't know what your automatic thoughts are, but that's one thing about staying in that ankle deep water, just those automatic thoughts. And it's like avoiding life's real problems over here. Sometimes avoidance is like the ankle deep way of life. Just avoid your problems, and you don't have to deal with them. It's easy, right? And then you get to that just state of inertia where nothing's happening, and you just stuck, and you stay there, and you remain unchanged. And you just keep thinking those automatic thoughts. One day, I wonder who will come and rescue me. I don't know. I'll meet somebody amazing. How can I get out of here? I know I can't get out of here on my own. Well, I'm so poor. And you just make a bunch of excuses, and risk just becomes the enemy, right? Right? You know what's not natural? Not natural to see a grown man with floaties on. Uh-oh. not natural to see a grown man with floaties in a kiddie pool with his mama. But men who won't grow up and get deeper are like the guy with the floaties in the kiddie pool with his mom. It's time to get out and to show your manhood and to grow up.
Ooh, show your manhood and grow up. Now, we can keep the slides on the screen. So here are the first couple questions in your groups. Go ahead and talk about that just for a couple minutes on the questions there. They're on the screen, and enjoy your time. take about one more minute, and then we'll continue on. About one more minute. Closing statements. All right. We're going to move on to point 2. So this is point 1, ankle deep. But as the vision continued, God brought Ezekiel down further in the river. So let's take a look at the second segment.
He goes like this, and then he led me through water that was ankle deep. He measured off another 1,000 cubits and led me through water that was knee deep. Knee deep. Oh, this is different. This is different. Okay. When you're in knee deep water, have you ever been around people that are actually afraid of water and they get out in a little bit deeper water and that now it's knee deep? You are as likely to go back as you are to move forward. You know, we call those shifters. Okay, I call them shifters. I just made it up, right? I just made it up. It's shifters. And you ever seen those people? All right. Oh, no. I don't like the current. Okay, I'm gonna, no. Oh, it doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. And they're like, okay, one day they're good. And they go on, and they can take the needy water, right? You can, I can do this. And when they feel the sand shift a little bit, no. I'm gonna say, it's good, I like land. I'm very dedicated to the land. And so they're back in the ankle-deep water again. And they move forward, and they move back, and they stop, and they go, and they stop, and they go, and they stop, and they go. People at church do that all the time. I see it all the time. I've been a pastor's wife for 1,005 years. I see it in church all the time. I see it. I guarantee you, we will not see some of you for another month. You know who you are? Because you're in and you're out. You stop and you go. You're back and you're forward. You stop and start and stop and start and stop and start and stop and start. And then you quit. And maybe you do this with your educational career. Maybe you do this in your family. Maybe you do this with your relationships. You just keep moving back to that comfort zone, back to that ankle-deep water. And God is saying, look, I know. Don't be a shifter. Because entrenched patterns are fierce. I know those patterns. I grew up in foster care. My mom abandoned me. She was like, there were 10 of us, and it was disastrous. It was awful. And I have this unhealthy relationship with food. I always have, ever since I was being starved as a kid. And I can't tell you how. I don't have a plan to get rid of it. I just know that when these behavioral patterns, I become entrenched with them, I have to say, okay, this is a long game thinking, and I can only get there when I break it down into small steps. I can't move out of this knee-deep water if I'm just stuck here with these patterns, the same old patterns that have plagued me my whole life, right? And so when I actually did grace the door of the gym, the lady, first of all, I like you and you. I like laughers. I finally got to the gym, and I got myself a trainer, and her name is Cricket. And Cricket has a lot of red hair, and she is so happy. And until you cross her, and she would say to me, Kim, I want you to get here 15 minutes early to the gym, and I want you to run a mile on the treadmill before we start our workout. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Cricket, Okay, Cricket, sure. First of all, it's a miracle I could get on a treadmill. I can't even pronounce the word. And then to run a mile before I even start workout, do you understand that in most world that mile would be the workout? And I will not be running that mile because I can't run the mile on the treadmill. And I remember being in that 24-hour fitness in Hollywood. Oh, Lord. Lord. And then I just started. And then I got up to a quarter of a mile. I got up to a quarter of a mile, and I was gasping for breath. That's all I could do, like the first, year and a half. I don't know what it was. And I tried my best. I'm sorry about the gladiators. This might not be your talk. Might not be your talk. Might not be your speaker. But I got up to like a quarter of a mile, and I was gasping and hanging on for dear life, and the workout had not begun. And I remember over the course of the time making it to half mile and then 3/4 of a mile. It took me so long that when I actually got to a mile at 4.5, running as fast and hard as I could on that treadmill, I remember thinking to myself when I actually made it to one, look, all those numbers on that treadmill freaked me out. And I'm like, where's the 1.0? Where's the 1.0? And finally, I hit it one day, and I had this thought. I think I could run a marathon. I'm not kidding you. My thinking actually changed. I was so set in my ways for all of these years. My thinking actually changed. And I just started like, okay, I'm just going to run some more. And I ran 2. I ran 3. And then somebody suggested, Kim, you got to do a 5K. A 5K. And there came a time, did you know, that I actually ran a 5K. Gladiators. I didn't win. And they probably got this from Toys R Us. I get it. I understand it's not the big whoop-de-doo that you may not. And I never made it to a marathon. I never have yet. But I tell you what I did. I broke it down into little steps that I could do. I lost 50 pounds. And you know what? And I'm so far from where I want to be. But I just know this. You have to take mastery over the movement of your life. And when you take mastery over the movement of your life, you gain momentum. And it takes you deeper.
take another minute. Closing statements. All right. Some of you guys are in good conversations. I like that. But we're going to continue on into the next segment. So we've talked about God led him ankle deep, and this is what he saw in regards to, making that initial step of faith. Then knee deep, and sometimes we shift back and we move back and forth, and we're not consistent with our faith. But then God led Ezekiel further waist deep and taught him some more stuff. Let's take a look.
So then listen to what the man in the vision said. He measured off another 1,500 feet, and he led me through water that was knee deep. He measured off another 1,500 feet, 1,000 cubits, and he led me through water that was up to my waist. Up to my waist. Now, if you're not a water person, you could be freaked out by this. It's up to your waist, and now you're thinking, okay, all right. There are forces at work that are out of my control, right? We don't like that, having forces that are out of our control. We are control people, aren't we? Don't we love it? Don't we love the word control, 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 control? And we don't like that we can't control things. We want to control our children. We want to control the environment at work. We want to control our own progress. We want to control. And whether you like to admit it or not, you just love it. And there's forces at work in waist-deep water that you cannot control. There are things that are going to be touching your legs that you don't know what's there. What is that? I don't know. I don't like it. But it's there. And the sand does shift, and the tide does come out and pull you in and pull you around, and you can't control that. And you're a little bit too deep for your comfort, and the vision continued here. And you got to be okay with the forces that you can't control. And it's got to terrify you a little bit, and that is all right as well, because it's in this place you can trust God with all that you have and all that you could have.
One more minute, one more minute. Closing statements. Closing statements. All right. I know it's quick, but we're gonna close this down. We have one more section. We've talked about the journey through pursuing faith, and this last step is going all in and what it looks like. And worship team, at the end of this video, you guys can come up. At the end of this, instead of doing another discussion, we're going to take a moment to pray, just to hear what she says and what it is to be all in and what that faith looks like. Take a look as we kind of wrap up.
He led me through water that was knee deep. He measured off another 1,000 and led me through water that was up to the waist. And he measured off another 1,000, which is 1,500 feet. But now it was a river. Can you say that word with me? A river. Say it like that. A river. I know, you will never have to see me again. I will not be here. But we need to get some crazy here. And now it's a river that I could not cross. Now, some of you thinking, wow, I thought he was going to heaven. I thought this whole thing was to get on the other side, to glory. As much as I disappoint all the prom people, the king and queen himself and herself, it is not. That's not the point here. It's not to cross over to get to heaven, and that's what this is all worth, is it? No, look, I couldn't even cross. I couldn't, because the water had what? It had risen, and it was deep enough to swim in. Only if you could swim, right? And a river that no one could cross. And he asked me, Son of man, which was another word for Ezekiel, Son of man, do you see this? Do you see it? I'd be like, what? I'm just trying to keep my head up. I want to be in the deep. I'm just trying to keep my head above the water. I'm trying to survive here, which is our attitude a lot of the time. Our spiritual attitude as well, right? I want to be in the danger zone. I want to be out here. But I don't know what this out here means. And God has called some of you to go far, far away, to reach people that do not know Jesus, and to be the hands and feet. You know, when Jesus took a towel and he wrapped it around his arm, and he washed the disciples' feet. And you can't be that close without human contact. And we want to keep other people at bay and people we don't know far away, and we'll just send our resources. But God is like, I send you. I send you. I send you to deep places. I send you to those places of leadership. I've never seen in my whole life of being a believer such a vacuum of leadership. And I know in my heart God is calling leaders to lead the kingdom of God actively. And we need to step in and own our leadership role and own our place in this kingdom, our role. Let God do that for you. Let God do that through you. Be that living water.
I want you guys to close your eyes. And I want to reflect on that last thing that she said of being willing to take that step of faith, not to be a shifter and kind of go back to what's comfortable. And the question is, what dangerous faith has God called you to act upon? Is there a place that God is calling you, something to step out, something to do, something to stay with your family, with your friends?